And I hope that you did enjoy and get educated in that conversation. But it is now time for us to tell you another bit. And I'm sure you were told that today is World TB Day. We're talking tuberculosis, and it's on the theme, it's time. The spotlight is urgently on accelerating tuberculosis response, especially along the fields of medicine to save lives. Well, we're going to be joined on the line by Dr. Yao Edusi-Poku. He is the National Tuberculosis Control Program Manager with the Ghana Health Service. And good morning to you, Dr. Edusi-Poku. But if we have to summarily put together the current state of cases in Ghana, how many and what is the current situation, would you say?
Right. Good morning, Roland, and good morning to your viewers. Yeah, thank you very much for this question. Currently, 44,000 cases that Ghana has, but we are getting a third of this, which is about 15,000 cases as of 2019. What it means is that 5 persons are getting infected every hour, and 2 persons are dying every hour. This is the state of Ghana's TB burden. But the good news is that there's a cure. We have the best technology to diagnose the cases. All that we need to do, that is why we have the theme. It is time, forging forward to finding the missing TB cases. It calls on civil society, it calls on government, it calls on every individual to be partakers of this agenda to find the missing TB cases.
Now, if we have to look at a current world in which we have cure for TB, what then would account for some of the fatalities that we tend to record?
A high index of suspicion for this disease.
That because they report late to the OPDs, there's a likelihood that they could be having transmissions or community-to-community transmission, so to speak, or these patients, before they even reporting, could transmit to either families or members of the communities. And how prevalent is that?
It is high. For every index case, that's what we say. For people that we diagnose, we have to trace about 25 persons around these people. These people may be household contacts. That's what we say, close relatives that the person maybe plays with. So in the evening, he goes to play, for instance, drafts. He goes to drink palm wine with certain kind of people. So what I'm trying to say is that these people need to, because they report late, because we all live in communities, they tend to infect others. So we always say that once we diagnose a case, we also find out, we also go ahead and trace where the household of the person, where the person usually stays or lives, those that they are in close contact with, so we can screen them. Once we screen the risk of the disease, so we treat for what we call the latent TB, and so we give them medicines so that we can clear the disease. Basically, this is what we do.
Now, is there a case in point that stigmatization becomes a main issue then? How do you as health practitioners tend to grapple with that?
Yes. So that involves what we call huge counseling. You need to counsel the patient for the patient to believe that, look, TB is curable. The treatment has an entry point and an exit point. If the patient, most of our cases we call them TB first line susceptible. What it means is that the bacteria is susceptible to the first line of medicines that we give. And that one, it takes about 6 months for treatment to complete. Once you are treated and you are tested to be free, you are free. All that you need is to adhere to treatment. So when we are saying that, yes, TB has a huge aspect of stigma involved with it, but you must believe that you will be okay after the treatment. And then we go ahead and counsel the relatives. Some of them become what we call treatment supporters. They support the TB patient in taking his or her medication in the house. They give love to the TB patient. And so some of them are also volunteers. So these volunteers also help. That is why TB is a community disease. When TB affects one person, it affects everybody in the community because the mode of transmission is in the air and everybody is at risk of having this disease. Look, in 2019, we diagnosed about 15,000. If I should tell you, among these, the professions, every profession is in. From the politician to the army office, to the soldiers, to the police, to the doctors, to the nurses, everybody is in. So everybody is at risk. And therefore, it calls that there should be hands on deck.
If we look at the number of cases that we tend to record in sub-Saharan Africa, i.e. we're talking about Ghana in particular, how does that relate to the number of cases that are recorded in the more developed countries? Let's say in a developed country like maybe the UK or the UAE of a sort.
Okay, so Ghana belongs to the high burden countries. If you have about 100 cases per 100,000 population onwards, 100 cases per 100,000 population and above, you are termed as a high burden country. If you go to the developed countries, because of their high surveillance in terms of border surveillance and all that, they are able to curb this. So, and here coming to Ghana, well, because we are also doing some high surveillance, but the stigma is so much that may call for the difference. In an advanced country, if I have TB, so what? But in a developing country, if I have TB, it is a big deal. But notwithstanding, we have to understand, and this is one of the philosophies of World TB Day. This time, we try to involve everybody. We tell everybody that everybody is at risk, and therefore we must join. If you are living in a house where somebody has a long-term cough, somebody is taking a long-term medication for whatever reasons, we must encourage one another to visit the health facility for diagnosis and treatment.
So at the end of the day, we know that this will be with us. Next year we'll be back, 44,000 cases. It looks like we're not making inroads. And that will be an indictment on the health system that we have.
We are making a lot of strides now. There's a strategy in place now called the Spitting Transportation System. You know, because our modern technology, we have 126 gene experts in 126 health facilities, in 126 districts. You see, so we cannot be everywhere, but everybody is everywhere. Pardon me for my language. And therefore, there's a strategy where we want to create access to our gene expert molecular testing. And we are saying that, don't worry, enter the facility where we don't have our state-of-the-art machine for diagnosing TB. We will pick your spitting. We will transport this spitting to the nearest site where we diagnose the TB. Not only that, even if you are in the community, we have civil society, NGO groups who are also canvassing and collecting spitting and then phlegm, and then joining this transportation system to sites where we can diagnose the TB. And since we started late last year, we are getting a lot of cases now, and we also have about 48 digital X-rays in about 48 facilities where it helps in diagnosing TB. There are some people who are not having any symptom, who are not manifesting any symptom, and yet they harbor the active disease. So we use the digital X-ray to help us identify these cases. So what we are saying, and all this is free, Roland, it is free. All that we are saying is that once you enter a facility, we screen you using our symptom screening tool. We collect your sample. Where we don't have the gene expert, we transport this sample to the nearest facility. It takes only 2 hours for diagnosis to be made.
Well, we'll see whether we can make some great inroads. But these are great insights you're giving us, and we're very much happy about it. And that is Dr. Yao Edusi Poku, who is the National Tuberculosis Control Program Manager with the Ghana Health Service. And because we're treating this, we also have to put this into better perspective, because today is World TB Day, and we'll come to you again. But let's just take you through the WHO site dedicated for this for today. It would give you great insight into many of the related things that you need to know. And of course, the main focus is to ensure that we all, as a people, especially in many of the low-end countries, and tuberculosis. We also do know that at least over 4,000 people worldwide lose their lives each day on this. We're just told by the Ghana Health Service that we have summarily an approximate 44,000 number of cases of tuberculosis right here in Ghana. And you go through the site where you can get all the related things. It's a caricature, if not a cartoon, of the theme for today's time. And it is to ensure that people get access to fully oral treatment for people with drug-resistant TB, because that's the main focus of the discussions today across the world. Indeed, it is said that about 50% of people, especially with HIV-associated infections, tend to be associated with tuberculosis, because these are one of the opportunistic infections, as they were. And so when you go through, you get many of these, so that we make the effort as a society to also remove the stigma attached to TB. Okay. Now let's take you to South Africa.